All right,
Perfect.
cool. Bye.
Awesome. Bye. Oh, hello. Welcome to Saturday morning yoga flow. Thank you so much for joining me today on the mat. Today's yoga class is themed on core compression. So core compression is whenever our backside muscles, um, with the hamstrings, glutes, back are all being lengthened and stretched, and the front side, our core, our abs, even quads are kind of compressing, shortening in towards each other. So yeah, it's going to build a lot of strength in our lats, our obliques, and our abs. And we'll be doing some compression exercises throughout the flow today. Thank you so much for joining me. We're going to go ahead and get started. Standing in a mountain position, grounding through both feet, bringing feet about hip distance. We can open the palms forward here, inhaling nice and deep, feeling the crown of the head rising tall. And a slow exhale as you relax through the shoulders. Feel yourself melt into the ground a bit deeper. Another few deep breaths here. Just bringing yourself in to the body, calming the body, along with the mind. And releasing the head forward here, we'll just start to round the chin down towards the chest, starting to move into the neck as we round the head, side to side. Coming back to shoulder center, we'll take it into the shoulders, going up and back and down. Switching direction of the shoulder roll. And keeping our feet about maybe a little bit wider than even hip distance. We're just going to start some trunk twisting side to side just to kind of free some energy throughout the body. Just twisting from the belly button here. And we'll come back through center, get started through some more movement. Inhaling, reaching arms up overhead, lengthen. On the exhale, we'll bend into the knees as we take a forward fold, reaching your belly towards the thighs. Relaxing through the upper body and neck here. Inhale, we'll round the spine all the way up to standing, reaching arms overhead. And exhale, bending into the knees. We relax the upper body down, forward folding. Relax here. On the inhale, rolling all the way up to standing. You can keep your arms by your side. We're just going to do a few rolling down and up. So we're going to tuck the chin in towards the chest, start to round through the shoulders as we kind of come into a little ball, roll it all the way down, rounding. And we'll roll it all the way up. The head is the last thing to lift here. One more time, tucking chin in towards the chest, folding, rounding into yourself, all the way down. And we'll inhale, round it all the way back up. Wonderful. One more forward fold, round it down. Releasing into a nice deep fold with bent knees, thighs resting on, belly resting on the thighs. We'll add some movement on the inhale, halfway lengthen, straightening through the spine, straighten through both knees. Exhale, forward fold, bending into the knees, releasing the upper body heavy. Inhale, we'll halfway lengthen, straightening through the spine. Exhale, forward fold. Let yourself be nice and heavy. Inhale, we'll halfway lengthen and take it all the way up to a standing position, reaching arms overhead. Exhale, hands by your side. We're going to get started into some sun salutations here to warm up the body. Inhale, arms overhead, lengthen. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, hands on the shin, straight spine. Exhale, fold, plant the hands, step the feet back into a plank position. On the inhale, lengthen through the head and the heels. Exhale, we lower to a chaturanga, push up, elbows tucked into the side. Feel free to drop the knees. On the inhale, we'll press forward and up with the chest, trying to keep those thighs lifted off the ground in our upward facing dog, chest shining forward between the arms here, shoulder blades squeezing together in the back. Exhale, we'll lift up and back with the hips into our downward facing dog. Taking some extra time here just to walk this dog out, pedaling the feet, one heel at a time, straightening and bending through the knees. Hips really nice and high here. Coming back to center, just finding a breath of stillness here in our downward facing dog. Deep in it. Exhale, let it go. Whenever you're ready, inhaling, lifting the heels, bending the knees, just taking a big step towards the top of the mat, releasing into a forward fold here. On the inhale, we're round all the way up to standing, reaching our arms overhead. And exhale, release. Once again, inhaling, arms overhead. Exhale, release into a forward fold. On the next inhale, we'll halfway lengthen. Exhale, forward fold, step it back into plank position. On the exhale, we take a low push up, bending 90 degrees into the elbows, chaturanga. On the inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. Yes, nice deep breath here. Settling a bit deeper into the posture. We'll inhale, lift the heels, bend the knees, step or flow, even try to take a hop towards the top of the mat, releasing into a forward fold. And inhale, rounding all the way up to standing, reaching arms overhead. Exhale, release. Wonderful. One more sun salutation here. We're going to start with some extra little compressions. And I forgot to mention some blocks. If you do have some blocks nearby for this class, or even some books, I would definitely recommend the use of them, but they're not necessary. Just if you have anything to kind of help give you some extra height throughout, is definitely for this compression class going to be helpful. So we're going to start once again standing at the top of the mat. We inhale, reach it up high. Exhale, taking a forward fold here. We're going to ground through the hands. So either on blocks, it can be really up high or low, or just on the ground. We're going to press our hands in towards the ground here and try to lift our hips up. So this is our first kind of compressive exercise. You want to feel a shift of your weight into the hands. You're going to lift off the heels, kind of sending those hips up high. So we're just going to play with this little subtle movement here of just pressing the weight in towards the hands, lifting the hips up high. And what this is kind of preparing us to do, a lot of things, even such as kind of lifting up into a handstand, but what it also is for is when we flow through our sensation, we're going to lift our feet off the ground from our forward fold and float our feet back behind us into our plank chaturanga. So this is kind of the first step of transitioning the weight into the hands, building that upper body and core compression strength to lift the hips, lift the feet off the ground and send them back into your plank chaturanga. So let's try with that here. We press our weight into our hands a few more times. And we're sending it back to our chaturanga. Feel free to step or feel free to press into the hands. Hop the feet back. We lower it into a chaturanga push up. On the inhale, we lift up into an upward facing dog. And on the exhale, we release downward facing dog. Wonderful. We'll finish the sun salutation, lifting the heels, bending the knees. We can try to lift our feet, floating it towards the top of the mat, releasing into a forward fold. And we'll inhale all the way up to standing and release. Wonderful. We're going to take our feet wide towards the edge of the mat, toes pointing out here. We're sinking our hips all the way down into a low squat here, a low yogic squat. Just settling in, pushing the knees away from each other here. We'll ground through the hands, we'll keep the right foot in front this time. We're gonna step the left foot behind us. So we're coming into a lizard lunge, grounding through the back knee. Just settling for a moment in this lizard. You can maybe move the front knee outward and inward. We'll bring the outside foot in between the hands. So our hands are framing this foot, sinking low into our low lunge, maybe drawing the knee further back. We lift it up high. We'll ground once again through the heels. Definitely recommend some blocks if you have some. We're going to push back the hips, straighten through the front knee, and push it forward, low lunge. A few just like that. We push back, straighten the knee, half split. Bend the knee, come forward into low lunge. Push it back, forward into low lunge. One more time here, push it back. We lengthen through the whole spine. And just slowly kind of fold the chest down, bow. The compression part comes in here as you kind of fold deeper. Trying to bring that belly over the thigh. Wonderful. We're going to lift it up with our body a bit here, staying in our half split. We are planting the hands to frame the foot. We're going to press into the hands here as we attempt to lift the front foot off the ground. So another compression exercise here. It's going to be a little bit challenging. You just press into the hands and see how many times you can lift the front foot. Just going for a few times here, a few foot lifts. You definitely feel it in the core. Awesome. We'll release here. Tucking the back toes, straightening through the back leg. We'll bend into the front knee, pivot the back foot down towards the long side of the mat, and we cartwheel our hands into our warrior two. Nice deep 90-degree bend in the front knee. Let your hips just settle in here. It's kind of definitely a nice hip opening posture. Sinking low. The front bent knee is going to straighten, the back straight knee is going to bend. We're sitting our hips as low as we can towards the back heel into our Skandasana low side lunge. Ooh, I'm just going to turn to face you real quick. You have a view from the front of our low Skandasana side lunge. We'll press up through the lower body, turning both toes towards the long side of the mat. Wide-legged forward fold here. Usually it helps to pigeon toe, just pivot the toes towards each other to protect the knees here. We bow forward, release. Oh, nice. We'll come all the way up here. We're turning the front toes forward and we're bending into the front knee as we reach the right arm, or I guess, yes, it would be the right arm up to the sky and reaching it overhead into our side angle, stacking the shoulders, gazing up here. We're just coming into a side angle. I'm turning to face you again. Side angle, really pressing down with that back foot, feeling it activate the leg. Awesome. We'll take the top hand, turn it down towards the ground, the hips square out towards the ground, and we drop the back knee. We're coming back into our lizard lunge here, both hands inside of the front left foot. Nice. Back into our lizard from here. And we'll step the back foot forward, coming into our low squat once again, sitting the hips low. Ooh, we're just going to take this to the other side. So the left foot steps back into our lizard lunge, dropping the back knee. Or actually, it would be this side. Left foot is up front, right foot is out, is behind us for our lizard lunge. Maybe just adding some movement with the front knee a little bit. We'll bring the foot in between the hands to frame. We sink it low into a lunge, maybe reach it up high with the hands here. Maybe draw that back knee further back to go even deeper. We plant the hands here. We're adding some movement into our half splits. So pushing the hips back, straightening through the front leg, half split, flex the toes. We come forward into a low lunge, push it back to a half split. A few more here. Just like that, low lunge to half split. And we'll come back into our half split, straightening through that front knee, squaring the hips out, and folding forward, bringing that belly towards the thigh. A few compression exercises here. We drop the blocks. We're going to press and lift the extended front leg. So just as many times as you can here, even if you can't get the foot to lift, that's okay. Just feeling the pressing motion of the hands is good enough for now. Takes practice. Awesome. Releasing here, we'll tuck the back toes straight in through the back knee, bending into the front knee and pivoting the back toes down. We cycle the arms up into our warrior two, hips open towards the long side of the mat. Deep 90-degree bend in that front knee, get lower. Nice. Taking just a breath here to settle, feel the power of a warrior. We'll straighten through the front bent knee, bend through the back knee as we sit the hips low towards the back heel in our low Skandasana side lunge. Woohoo! Get a nice stretch here. We're pressing up through the back leg, coming through center in a wide-legged forward fold. Both toes point towards each other a bit as we take a forward fold. Nice. And we walk the hands back towards the front foot. Toes point forward, front toes point forward. We bend into the front knee, reach the right arm up to the sky and overhead into a side angle. Nice. And we pivot down, squaring the hips out, dropping the back knee into our lizard lunge. Awesome. We're just going to send the front foot back to meet the other foot, tucking the back toes, straightening through the back legs into a downward facing dog. Just meet me here. Taking a nice deep cleansing breath. Before we make our way back to the top of the mat, inhale, lift the heels, bend the knees. Maybe you can float your feet towards your hands. Inhale, reach it all the way up to standing. And we release hands by our side. Awesome. A bit more to go here. We're actually we'll take the standing sequence first. So we'll start with some toe tap reaches. We're just gonna lift the right foot, we'll start with out in front of us, trying to maybe tap the toes out in front a few times. This is a compressive exercise here, lifting the leg. Nice. From here, we're going to try to lift and hold the leg out. Nice. We'll bend and send the knee behind us, stepping it into a pyramid short stance, back toes pointing towards the corner. We take a forward fold here in our pyramid pose. The front foot, that same hand will stay grounded. The back foot, that same hand, will lift up to the sky as we peel open the chest into our triangle. Back toes pivot open towards the long side. Triangle, Trikonasana, long through the side body here. We pivot down, back down towards the bottom of the mat. We're going to lift off the back foot, reaching it as high into the air as we can as we take a forward fold. And we'll inhale, stand the foot all the way back up, bending the knee. We just lift the knee out in front of us. We're going to straighten and bend here. Straighten and bend. That outer front leg in front of us. Nice. Woohoo! And one more standing balance here. We'll take this front bent knee behind us, kind of crossing it over the standing leg as we bend into the standing leg. Just kind of like a curtsy squat without dropping the foot, like a dragon squat. We kind of bend into both knees and stand it up. Perfect. So we're going to take this to the other side here. Left leg lifts. And we maybe just try to tap the toes a few times out in front of us. Nice. We'll release, hold the foot out in front. Hold, 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 hold. And send that foot behind us, short distance into our pyramid fold. Hips square towards the front. We fold forward. We'll open into our triangle from here. So back toes pivot towards the long edge of the mat. And we reach the opposite hands up to the sky, stacking shoulders, stacking hips. Trikonasana triangle. Roll the hips down, square them out, come back into the pyramid pose. We kind of walk the hands a bit forward to lift off the back toes. We take a fold here as the back foot lifts as high as it can into the sky. And we release the back leg forward. We're going to bring it all the way through, bending the knee out in front of you. We straighten the leg out and bend the knee. Just a few of these, straightening the knee and bending. Woohoo, you got it. If you fall out, just come right back in. That's okay. We're going to take it to a standing balance. Just pose real quick. Take the front knee back behind, crossing it behind the standing leg, bending into the standing leg. We kind of come into this weird balancing squat before we stand back up and release. Awesome work. Way to give it a go. Let's make it way down to our seats here. We'll inhale, reach up high. Exhale, fold it forward. Ooh. We'll bend into the knees, just release it into a seat and extend the legs out in front of you. Nice, flexing the toes here. We'll just take a nice forward fold, seated forward fold. If you're pretty tight in this posture, it's definitely much better to bend through the knees, pull the thighs towards the chest, instead of kind of rounding through the spine and trying to pull yourself down. So definitely keeping a bend in the knees if you're feeling tight. All right. We'll inhale, come back up to our seated, legs extended out in front. We're going to do some compression exercises once more. Our hands kind of come right, pressing down wherever feels best. I think for me, it's always best kind of right outside of my shin area, below my knee. But you can experiment here. So we're taking our forward a little bit. It'll feel maybe a little bit easier the further you stand up. So the more you fold and the more you compress, the more challenging this will be. But go ahead, maybe give it a try. So we'll press into our hands, lift a foot off the ground, and we're just alternating lifting feet off the ground here. And you really feel it in the quad as it lifts your leg. Woohoo! Single leg lifts. Nice. And we'll release just one more forward fold here. Stretch it out long. We'll come up to a nice seated, bringing bottoms of the feet together, knees out wide, butterfly pose, binding the hands around the feet. We'll just alternate here. First, we'll inhale, lengthen through the spine, take a bow. Nice, tall, flat back. We'll come back through center. This time we'll tuck the chin towards the chest, start to ball up into ourselves as we take a butterfly fold again. Trying to reach your forehead back towards the ankles. Inhaling back up, we lengthen through the spine, take a bow forward, long spine. And we inhale back up, tuck the chin towards the chest as we start to roll into ourselves here, down into our fold. Nice. And back up into a seated position. Just grounding your feet out in front of you, bending the knees, hands behind the hips. We're just going to press our hips up high into a reverse tabletop, maybe keeping the chin tucked or letting the head fall back. And we'll release the hips all the way down. Awesome. From here, we'll open into a straddle, taking the feet nice and wide. And maybe first, again, just kind of bowing forward, getting a nice stretch here. Making sure the knees and toes stay pointed up as we bow forward. Nice. And we'll come all the way up for a few more compression-based exercises here. We'll straddle. Might be a little bit easier too if you bring the feet closer together if you have any trouble throughout this. So keeping them straddled still, we'll frame one leg with both hands. We're going to press into the ground beside the leg as we try to lift the leg in between off the ground a few times. So we'll just try to take a few times on one side, leg lifting in our straddle. Woo-hoo. And we'll take it to the other side, straddling the other leg, pressing. We lift. Doing what you can here. And we'll release the feet down, just making sure the feet are open wide for another forward fold here. Ah, nice. We bring the feet back together in front of us, planting the feet on the ground, knees pointing up. So our L sit, if anyone knows what L sit is when you press into the ground, your feet are out in front of you and you lift the legs off the ground. It's a pretty advanced exercise, takes a lot of strength. So we're gonna do some exercises that might be working up towards that sort of posture. Our feet are bent here, feet ground. Our knees are bent, feet ground, and hands by the side, maybe even on blocks. We're just going to focus here on lifting the hips. So keeping those knees bent will definitely help you to be able to lift the hips. You can use blocks or height under your hands to help you. We just press our hands right beside our hips, down, and lift the sit bones off the ground. Awesome. After you've done a few lifts, you can try to play with lifting the feet off the ground one at a time. So single leg lifts here. We'll lift the hips. Maybe you can kind of just draw one foot off the ground and then another, feeling that compression as the knee pulls in towards the chest. Nice. So if this feels good for you, the next step in the progression would then be to press and tuck, pull the knees in towards the chest. So, and the feet off the ground. So you can kind of play with this. Eventually, after the tuck, you'll play with leg extension to get to the L sit. But for now, we'll start with kind of just our knees tucked in, lifting the sit bones off the ground. Wonderful. Great work. And once you've kind of played with that for a little bit, you can release your blocks off to the side. We're going to take some windshield wipers. Hands can come right behind the hips. We let the knees fall one way and then the other way. Perfect. From our window shield wiping, we're going to come into a pigeon pose. So letting the knees fall all the way one way. The front shin, the first shin will come parallel to the mat. The other knee will stay in line with your hip as we sit our body up and forward. So we kind of have to scoot over. So we have a front knee bent in pigeon pose. The other leg is, the knee is bent in line with our hip in a deer sort of pose. Awesome. So we start just like this here. You can even start with a twist outside of that front knee, bent knee. We'll come forward and try to take a few bends here, bowing forward. Nice. And we'll play with some compression once again. Taking our hands, we press them down, try to lift and extend the front leg out in front of you. We'll lift, bend the front knee back into pigeon. Lift, straighten. We lift and bend. Just a few more like that. Lift and straightening, lift and bend. We'll lift and straighten out. Take a nice forward fold over the front extended leg. And press it back up, bending into the knee. We window shield wipe to the other side. Nice, so just taking a moment to settle in here. We'll take a twist from the front, bent knee. We go to the outside, take a twist. We'll come forward, allow ourselves to bow over the front bent shin. A few times, just adding some movement. And coming back through center, we take our compression exercise. We maybe use our hands to help us press. We take the front leg, extend it out, and we bend the front knee back in. Front bend, extend it all the way out, and bring it back in. Just a few of these here. We'll take that front bent knee, extend it long in front, and forward fold. Coming back through center, bending into the front knee. We come back through our window shield wiper, side to side. Wonderful. We'll do one last compression so you can kind of release, come through a seated. We'll do one last compression exercise before the end of practice here. So more coming into a thunderbolt position with your heels underneath your hips. We're gonna take our blocks here if you have some, or books, any sort of anything to give you some height. So it'll definitely feel a little bit easier with a higher height. You can use a lower height with the blocks, or if you have none, that's okay. You can work on it without any as well. So in our thunderbolt position, we have our blocks right beside our hips, kind of down a little bit. You kind of experiment and see what feels good as you go. We're gonna press and try to lift the knees off the ground, pulling those knees in towards the chest, like a tuck position. This is like a press and tuck. If you can also try to start to lift the feet off the ground. So it's definitely going to be pretty challenging feat, but we're just going to practice here. We press and lower. Lift as much as you can and lower right down. So last compression exercise, so just try your best here. You really want to feel as you compress the shoulder blades, drawing away from each other, protracting. And lifting the hips as well. Woo! It's tough. Nice. Woo. And you can release the blocks off to the side whenever you're done here, just for some closing stretches. We'll just open and close the arms here, taking a seat however feels comfortable, either in thunderbolt or in easy seated. We'll pull one arm across the chest, pull it in. Taking that arm up and over, bending the elbow behind the head. Stand nice and tall with the head. And take a little side bend out to the side. Maybe turn your gaze up. Back through center. We'll just switch arms, crossing the other arm over the chest, pulling in. Bending into the elbow, sending it behind the head here, nice and tall spine. And maybe a side bend as the gaze turns up. Wonderful. We'll come back through center, just releasing here into a nice, easy seated pose. I'm just going to close off the practice here with one last breath. Inhaling nice and deep, oh, bringing hands together overhead. And exhaling, hands to heart center, just doing a gentle bow to yourself in gratitude and thanks for all of your effort for showing up today on your mat. It's such an honor to guide you through this flow, and I really hope to see you again. I wish you have a wonderful weekend. Namaste, peace. Thank you so much. Let's see here. Bye. Thank